In the bustling heart of Lagos, Nigeria, where the streets are a tapestry of colorful markets, honking cars, and busy people, lived a man named Emeka. Emeka was a tall man with a kind smile and eyes that always seemed to be thinking deeply about something. He lived in a cozy house with his wife, Ngozi, and their two cheerful children, Chidi and Ada. One sunny afternoon, Emeka returned home from his job at the bank. Usually, he would whistle a tune as he walked through the garden gate, but today was different. Today, his steps were heavy, and his face was clouded with worry. Ngozi noticed this change right away. She was watering the flowers in their front yard, her hands covered in soil. "Emeka, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice full of concern as she dropped the watering can and rushed over to him. Emeka sighed, looking around to make sure the children were not nearby. "Let's talk inside," he murmured, and Ngozi nodded, wiping her hands on her apron as they went into the house. Inside, they sat opposite each other at the dining table. Emeka took a deep breath and said, "Ngozi, there's something I must tell you, and it's very difficult for me." Ngozi reached across the table, taking his hands in hers, urging him to continue. "I have a mistress," Emeka confessed, looking down in shame. "And she is pregnant. She's threatening to tell you everything if I don't send her to Europe. I'd rather you hear it from me than from her. Baby, please forgive me." Ngozi felt her heart thumping in her chest. The news was shocking, but not for the reason Emeka thought. She knew a secret about Emeka that he didn't even know about himself. Emeka was infertile. They had learned this many years ago, but Ngozi never told him, fearing it would break his spirit. Their children, Chidi and Ada, were born through a secret Ngozi kept only to herself. Now, Ngozi was caught in a storm of emotions. How could she reveal the truth without shattering their family? She had to act wisely. "Emeka," Ngozi began, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "Are you sure about this? It's a big accusation, and it could simply be a misunderstanding or even a deception." Emeka looked up, his eyes filled with confusion. "I don't understand, Ngozi. Why would she lie about something like this?" Ngozi sighed, choosing her words carefully. "Sometimes, people are not what they seem. We need to think about this carefully and investigate more. Perhaps there is more to her story than we know." Emeka nodded slowly, his mind racing with doubts and fears. "You're right," he said. "We should find out the truth." Over the next few days, Ngozi hired a private investigator, Mr. Okoye, who was known for his discretion and effectiveness. Mr. Okoye began to look into the background of Emeka's mistress, a woman named Amora. As they awaited Mr. Okoye's findings, life at home became a silent dance of smiles and unspoken words. Emeka was consumed with guilt, while Ngozi battled her own secrets. The children, oblivious to the storm brewing, continued with their playful antics, filling the house with laughter and joy. Finally, Mr. Okoye called with news. He asked Emeka and Ngozi to meet him at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of the city. With hearts pounding, they drove to the cafe one cool evening, the sky painted with streaks of orange and purple. Mr. Okoye was waiting for them, his expression unreadable. "I have some important information," he began, pulling out a folder stuffed with papers. "It appears that Amora has a history of deception." In the dim light of the cafe, Mr. Okoye spread the documents across the table. Emeka and Ngozi leaned forward, their eyes scanning the pages filled with photographs and detailed notes. Mr. Okoye pointed to a series of photographs showing Amora in various affluent settings, far removed from the modest life she claimed to lead. "As you can see," Mr. Okoye began, his voice low, "Amora has been involved with several wealthy men over the past few years. There are bank statements here that show large sums of money transferred to her accounts from different sources." Emeka's face fell as he absorbed the information. "So, she's a con artist," he murmured, disbelief lacing his words. It appears so, Mr. Okoye confirmed. And there's more. I spoke with a doctor who was willing to share that Amora visited him last month. According to the doctor, Amora is not pregnant. Ngozi watched Emeka's reaction closely. His initial shock slowly turned into a mix of relief and anger. He shook his head, trying to process the betrayal. Why would she lie about something like this? Emeka asked, his voice a mix of anger and confusion. People like Amora manipulate emotions to get what they want, Mr. Okoye explained. Her goal was likely to secure a stable future for herself by leveraging your guilt and responsibility. Ngozi reached out and squeezed Emeka's hand. What are we going to do now? She asked, her voice calm but firm. We need to confront her, Emeka decided, his resolve hardening. We need to let her know that we know the truth. With Mr. Okoye's findings in hand, they planned their next steps. The following day, Emeka called Amora, asking her to meet him at a local park. It was a public place, a safe environment for such a confrontation. Ngozi insisted on coming along, her presence a silent pillar of support for Emeka. As they waited by an old, sprawling mango tree, the tension between them was palpable. Soon, Amora appeared, walking briskly, her expression one of expectation. Emeka stepped forward, the documents hidden in his jacket. Amora, why did you lie to me? He asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. Amora's face faltered, then hardened. What are you talking about, Emeka? She retorted, her voice tinged with defiance. We know you're not pregnant, Emeka said, revealing the documents. And we know about your other relationships. Amora looked from Emeka to Ngozi, her confidence wavering. I needed the money, she admitted finally, her shoulders slumping. I thought if I could get to Europe, I could start a new life. But why lie? Why drag us into your mess? Ngozi asked, her voice laced with both anger and pity. Amora didn't respond, her eyes on the ground. After a moment of heavy silence, she turned and walked away, her steps uneven, the confrontation leaving her plans in ruins. As Amora disappeared from view, Emeka turned to Ngozi. I'm so sorry, Ngozi, he said, his voice thick with remorse. I never meant for any of this to happen. Ngozi took a deep breath, knowing this was the moment she had to decide whether to reveal her own secret. But she hesitated, the weight of the potential fallout holding her back. Let's go home, she said instead, her arm linking through Emeka's. We have a lot to talk about. As they walked back to their car, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park. The truth about Amara was out, but Ngozi's secret remained hidden, a silent shadow that followed them home. The drive home was quiet, the air filled with unsaid words and heavy thoughts. Ngozi stared out the window, watching the bustling streets of Lagos pass by, her mind racing with the implications of revealing her deeper secret to Emeka. The children, unaware of the tension, chatted excitedly about their day at school. Once home, Emeka suggested they sit outside in the garden, under the shade of the large mango tree that also served as a witness to many of their family celebrations and discussions. The familiar setting provided a semblance of comfort, a reminder of simpler times. Emeka, Ngozi began, her voice steadier than she felt, there's something I need to tell you. It's about our family and, it's about me. Emeka turned to her, his expression a mix of concern and curiosity. What is it, Ngozi? Taking a deep breath, Ngozi reached for his hand, holding it tight. The truth about Amara made me realize we need complete honesty between us. It's the only way forward. Emeka nodded, encouraging her to continue. The children. Chidi and Ada, she paused, searching for the right words, they aren't biologically yours. The words hung in the air like a thick fog, slowly settling around them. Emeka's face drained of color, his hand twitching slightly in hers, but he didn't pull away. I don't understand, Ngozi. What do you mean? His voice was a whisper, barely audible over the rustling leaves. Ngozi explained everything. How many years ago, after trying to conceive without success, they sought medical help and discovered that Emeka was infertile. How devastated she had felt, knowing Emeka's dream of having his own children. And then, her decision to conceive via a sperm donor, secretly, so that Emeka could experience the joy of parenthood without the heartbreak of his condition. As she spoke, tears streamed down her cheeks, not just for the secret she had kept but also for the fear of losing the life they had built together. Emeka sat in stunned silence, processing the revelations. The shock, the sense of betrayal, was palpable, but so was the undeniable love for the children who called him daddy. How could you keep this from me, Ngozi? How could you decide this on your own? Emeka's voice cracked with emotion, his heart torn between hurt and understanding. I thought I was protecting you, Ngozi replied, her voice trembling. I wanted to spare you the pain, and I wanted our family to be happy. But at what cost, Ngozi? Emeka pulled his hand away gently, standing to pace the small garden. Our whole marriage, our family, it's based on a lie. Ngozi stood too, reaching out to him. No, not a lie. A choice I made out of love. Yes, I should have told you, but every day, every year with you and the children has been real. The love, the laughter, the challenges, we faced them together. They looked at each other, years of shared history between them, now seen through a new lens. The night grew darker, and the garden lights flickered on, casting soft light around them. Where do we go from here, Ngozi? Emeka asked, his voice soft but not without hope. Ngozi stepped closer, her own heart aching for both the hurt she caused and the potential healing that might come. We rebuild, Emeka. We take it one day at a time. We are more than the secrets and the mistakes. We are a family. Emeka looked towards the house, where Chidi and Ada were playing in the living room, their laughter filtering out into the night. Slowly, he nodded, the immediate pain not gone but perhaps the beginning of forgiveness taking root. We'll need time, Ngozi. We'll need to talk more, to understand this fully, Emeka said, his hand finding hers again, a tentative bridge mending a gap. Ngozi nodded, her relief palpable but cautious. I'm here, for all of it. We'll go through this together. As they stood in their garden, the challenges ahead seemed daunting, but the foundation of their family, built on love, albeit imperfect, remained. The night whispered around them, a silent promise that while the path ahead was uncertain, they would navigate it side by side. As the night deepened, Emeka and Ngozi retreated inside, their hearts burdened but bound by a fragile thread of hope. The children, oblivious to the seismic shifts occurring in their parents' world, were tucked into bed with stories and soft kisses. That night, Emeka lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan as it cut through the heavy air. Ngozi's revelation echoed in his mind, a relentless tide that ebbed and flowed with feelings of betrayal, love, and overwhelming confusion. His life, as he knew it, had been a well-orchestrated illusion. Yet, his love for Chidi and Ada remained unshaken, as real and palpable as ever. In the quiet hours of early morning, a sudden, urgent knock at their front door jolted Emeka from his restless thoughts. Frowning, he glanced at the clock at 3:17 a.m. Who could it be at this hour? Ngozi stirred beside him. What's that? She murmured sleepily. I'll check, Emeka whispered, slipping out of bed. He padded softly to the door, his mind racing with possibilities. Peering through the peephole, his eyes met the anxious gaze of Mr. Okoye, the private investigator. Opening the door, Emeka was surprised. Mr. Okoye. What's wrong? Mr. Emeka, I'm sorry to come at this hour, but it's urgent, Mr. Okoye said, his voice tense. There's been a development regarding Amora. You need to know right away. Ngozi appeared at Emeka's side, her expression worried. "What happened?" she asked. Mr. Okoye stepped inside, his eyes scanning the quiet house. "After our meeting, I continued to monitor Amora's movements, given the nature of her deception. Tonight, she was involved in an altercation. It seems she's not walking alone." "What do you mean?" Emeka's voice was sharp with concern. "She met with someone tonight, a man known to the authorities. He's linked to several high-profile scams across West Africa. From what I gathered, they are planning something big, and it involves you." Emeka's heart thudded painfully. "Involves me? How?" "They were overheard discussing a plan to extract a large sum of money from you, leveraging the secret about Amora being pregnant," Mr. Okoye explained. "It seems they believe they can still manipulate you." The room grew colder as the implications settled around them. Ngozi gripped Emeka's hand, her fear palpable. "What are we going to do?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "We need to act quickly," Mr. Okoye advised. "I suggest we set a trap. Pretend to go along with their demands while we involve the police. It's risky, but it might be the only way to stop them and protect your family." Emeka nodded, determination setting in. The deception was deeper and more dangerous than he had realized. Protecting his family was his top priority, even if it meant diving further into the web of lies. Over the next few days, they orchestrated their plan with meticulous care. Emeka contacted Amora, feigning distress and a willingness to comply with her demands. Meanwhile, Mr. Okoye coordinated with local authorities, preparing to catch her and her accomplice in the act. The trap was set for a meeting at a local hotel, where the exchange would supposedly take place. Emeka, wired with a microphone and flanked by undercover officers, walked into the hotel lobby, his every muscle tense for what was to come. Amora arrived, her confident smile not reaching her tense eyes. Beside her was the man Mr. Okoye had identified, large and imposing. As they approached, Emeka could hear his heart pounding in his ears. "Just do as we agreed, Emeka, and everything will be fine," Amora cooed, unaware of the officers hidden in plain sight. As she reached for the briefcase Emeka held, which was supposed to contain the money, the signal was given. Police officers surged forward, capturing Amora and her accomplice in a flurry of shouts and confusion. In the chaos, Emeka stood back, the weight of the ordeal pressing down on him. He had stepped into danger to protect his family, and now, as the handcuffs clicked shut on Amora and her partner, he felt a mix of relief and profound sorrow. The night ended with Amora and her accomplice in custody, their plans foiled. Emeka and Ngozi returned home, the silence of their house a stark contrast to the adrenaline of the night. As they settled into the quiet, Emeka looked at Ngozi, his wife, his partner in all things. "We'll get through this," he promised, holding her close. "Yes," Ngozi agreed, her voice steady despite the shadows that lingered. Together. In the days following the arrest of Amora and her accomplice, the quiet that settled over Emeka and Ngozi's home was one of cautious relief. The threat was gone, but the echoes of deceit lingered, casting long shadows over their future. Emeka found himself grappling with a maelstrom of emotions. The relief of Amora's capture mixed with the lingering bitterness of her betrayal. Yet, there was a deeper wound, Ngozi's secret about their children. His family, the core of his existence, felt like a fragile construct that could shatter with a touch. Meanwhile, Ngozi watched her husband wrestle with his thoughts, her heart aching to mend the rift that had grown between them. She understood Emeka's pain, the sense of betrayal he felt not just from Amora but also from her own deception. Determined to rebuild their trust, Ngozi planned a small getaway for the family, hoping a change of scenery might help them reconnect and talk openly about their feelings. They traveled to a quiet beach resort in Calabar, away from the bustling life of Lagos. The serene beaches and gentle waves provided a soothing backdrop to their turbulent emotions. It was here, with the sand beneath their feet and the ocean's rhythmic roar, that Emeka and Ngozi finally sat down to talk honestly about everything that had happened. "Emeka," Ngozi began, her voice soft against the breeze, "I know there's been so much pain, so much that I've caused. I want to make things right between us." Emeka looked out over the water, the vastness reflecting his own turmoil. "Ngozi, it's not just about the deception. It's about us, our foundation. How do we move forward when it feels like everything I knew was a lie?" Ngozi reached for his hand, holding it firmly. "I believe we start by remembering what's real. Our love for each other, for Chidi and Ada. That hasn't changed, Emeka. We can rebuild, stronger, because now there are no more secrets between us." As they talked, the children played nearby, their laughter a bittersweet reminder of the innocence that still existed within their family. Emeka watched them, his heart swelling with love. The truth about their birth might have altered his perception, but it hadn't dimmed his love. Slowly, as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Emeka turned back to Ngozi. "I want to forgive, Ngozi. I do. It's going to take time, but I don't want to lose what we have. I don't want to lose you." Ngozi's eyes filled with tears, relief and love mingling in her gaze. "We'll take all the time you need," she promised. "We're in this together." The next few days at the resort were a time of healing. They spent hours talking, sometimes simply sitting in silence, allowing the natural beauty around them to soothe their wounded spirits. By the time they packed up to return to Lagos, there was a tentative hope blossoming between them. But as they arrived home, they were met with an unexpected situation. The police had been trying to contact them. There were developments in the case against Amora and her accomplice. They had started talking, revealing a network of deceit that spread far wider than anyone had anticipated. There were more people involved, and some were connected to high-profile figures in the city. Emeka and Ngozi found themselves pulled back into a wall of police meetings and decisions about whether to testify in a trial that could become very public and potentially dangerous due to the influential nature of those involved. As they navigated this new challenge, their resolve to stick together was tested. They had survived secrets and lies, but this new threat was different. It was external, yet it preyed on the vulnerabilities that had only just begun to heal. "Whatever comes, we face it as a family," Emeka declared one evening, his voice firm. "We've been through too much to let anything tear us apart now." Ngozi nodded, her resolve matching his. "Together," she agreed, her hand squeezing his. As they prepared for the upcoming trial, with its promises of revelations and challenges, Emeka and Ngozi fortified themselves with the love and trust they were painstakingly rebuilding. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and public scrutiny, but they were determined to face it united, as a family rebuilt on truth and fortified by love. As the trial approached, Emeka and Ngozi braced themselves for the public scrutiny that would come with testifying against Amora and her accomplice. The network they had uncovered was extensive, involving some of Lagos's most influential individuals. Despite the risks, Emeka and Ngozi agreed that exposing the truth was the only way to protect other families from falling victim to similar deceit. The days were filled with preparation, meetings with lawyers, and discussions with the police about security during the trial. At home, they tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy for Chidi and Ada, who were aware of the tension but shielded from the details. When the day of the trial arrived, Emeka and Ngozi walked hand in hand into the courtroom, a united front against the backdrop of flashing cameras and whispered speculations. They testified with calm determination, their statements clear and unwavering. Outside the courthouse, Emeka addressed the media, advocating for transparency and justice, not just for their family but for all those manipulated by such networks of deceit. The trial lasted several weeks, with various twists and turns as more details of the network were unveiled. In the end, justice prevailed. Amora and her accomplice, along with several other key figures, were convicted and sentenced. It was a significant victory, but for Emeka and Ngozi, the real triumph was the strength they found in each other. In the aftermath, the family took a well-deserved retreat to the serene landscapes of Obudu Cattle Ranch in Cross River State. Here, surrounded by rolling hills and quiet skies, they found peace. It was a time for reflection, for healing, and for forging new memories as a family reborn through trials. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset from the edge of a cliff, Emeka turned to Ngozi. His eyes held a depth of emotion that spoke of the journey they had endured together. Ngozi, through all this, you were my anchor. I know it wasn't easy keeping your secret, and it wasn't easy facing it either. But here, now, I see that what matters isn't how we started, but what we've become. And what we will continue to build together. Ngozi's eyes glistened with tears as she leaned into Emeka, her head resting on his shoulder. I was so afraid of losing you, she whispered. But you showed me that our love is stronger than the secrets, stronger than the pain. You and the children are my world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Chidi and Ada ran up to them, laughter filling the air. Emeka lifted Ada into his arms while Chidi tugged at his sleeve, eager to share his latest adventure. Looking at their faces, alight with joy and innocence, Emeka and Ngozi knew that no matter the challenges, they had each other, and with love, they could overcome anything. That night, as they sat around the campfire, Emeka shared stories of their ancestors, of the heroes and heroines who had shaped their legacy with courage and love. It was a moment of connection, of passing down the values they cherished to the next generation. Years later, this period would be remembered not just for the trials they faced but for the lessons they learned about truth, forgiveness, and the enduring power of family. Their story, a testament to the human spirit's resilience, would inspire not just their children but also others who heard it, a beacon of hope in a world often shadowed by deceit. And so, under the vast African sky, the family of Emeka and Ngozi, forged in the fires of adversity, looked forward to the future with hearts full of hope and lives intertwined with unbreakable bonds of love and integrity. As the trial approached, Emeka and Ngozi braced themselves for the public scrutiny that would come with testifying against Amora and her accomplice. The network they had uncovered was extensive, involving some of Lagos's most influential individuals. Despite the risks, Emeka and Ngozi agreed that exposing the truth was the only way to protect other families from falling victim to similar deceit. The days were filled with preparation, meetings with lawyers, and discussions with the police about security during the trial. At home, they tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy for Chidi and Ada, who were aware of the tension but shielded from the details. When the day of the trial arrived, Emeka and Ngozi walked hand in hand into the courtroom, a united front against the backdrop of flashing cameras and whispered speculations. They testified with calm determination, their statements clear and unwavering. Outside the courthouse, Emeka addressed the media, advocating for transparency and justice, not just for their family but for all those manipulated by such networks of deceit. The trial lasted several weeks, with various twists and turns as more details of the network were unveiled. In the end, justice prevailed. Amora and her accomplice, along with several other key figures, were convicted and sentenced. It was a significant victory, but for Emeka and Ngozi, the real triumph was the strength they found in each other. In the aftermath, the family took a well-deserved retreat to the serene landscapes of Obudu Cattle Ranch in Cross River State. Here, surrounded by rolling hills and quiet skies, they found peace. It was a time for reflection, for healing, and for forging new memories as a family reborn through trials. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset from the edge of a cliff, Emeka turned to Ngozi. His eyes held a depth of emotion that spoke of the journey they had endured together. Ngozi, through all this, you were my anchor. I know it wasn't easy keeping your secret, and it wasn't easy facing it either. But here, now, I see that what matters isn't how we started, but what we've become. And what we will continue to build together. Ngozi's eyes glistened with tears as she leaned into Emeka, her head resting on his shoulder. I was so afraid of losing you, she whispered. But you showed me that our love is stronger than the secrets, stronger than the pain. You and the children are my world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Chidi and Ada ran up to them, laughter filling the air. Emeka lifted Ada into his arms while Chidi tugged at his sleeve, eager to share his latest adventure. Looking at their faces, alight with joy and innocence, Emeka and Ngozi knew that no matter the challenges, they had each other, and with love, they could overcome anything. That night, as they sat around the campfire, Emeka shared stories of their ancestors, of the heroes and heroines who had shaped their legacy with courage and love. It was a moment of connection, of passing down the values they cherished to the next generation. Years later, this period would be remembered not just for the trials they faced but for the lessons they learned about truth, forgiveness, and the enduring power of family. Their story, a testament to the human spirit's resilience, would inspire not just their children but also others who heard it, a beacon of hope in a world often shadowed by deceit. And so, under the vast African sky, the family of Emeka and Ngozi, forged in the fires of adversity, looked forward to the future with hearts full of hope and lives intertwined with unbreakable bonds of love and integrity.